today we are going to take a few materials and make some rubber spatulas for the dolls to use for their baking projects in their kitchen. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this is. Alright, so the inspiration for this week's video actually happened the other day after I'd made some cookies in real life and I was washing dishes. I was washing my very favorite, ignore the back of these, they're not quite perfect. I was washing my very favorite rubber spatula and I realized I've always loved the shape of rubber spatulas and I thought this would be really cool to make in clay for the dolls. So I set out to start playing with a couple of different patterns and coming up with a rubber spatula for the dolls. I loosely based today's project on my favorite rubber spatula, which I will admit is oversized, which makes it easier in the dolls. It makes it a little bit bigger. So we're gonna use polymer clay and wood and liquid polymer clay. I've just got an old bottle that's just got a little bit in the bottom and I've got a craft stick so that I can spread it. So first we need our handle. For our handle we are using a skinny stick and I'm going to measure 3.5 inches and that's how long our handle's going to be. I'm actually going to measure two different things at once. So I'm measuring my 3.5 inches. And then from this end, I want to measure 3/4 of an inch. That's going to be important here in a minute. And I figure I might as well do all my measuring at once. Now you need to safely cut at the 3.5 inch mark. Do not use scissors. Use something that's made to cut wood with, whether that be a saw or one of these easy cutters, even pruning shears. Don't use scissors. I won't go into the details, but I one time spent an entire afternoon with a friend in the emergency room because she tried to cut a small dowel with a pair of scissors, and it was not pretty. So don't do that. I cringe every time I see somebody on a YouTube video cutting a dowel or another piece of wood with a pair of scissors. Alright, so we've cut this to 3.5 inches. The mark closest, or the end closest to this mark, to this 3/4 inch mark, we are going to round off a lot. And I'm just using this, by the way, it's just an emery board. I buy the big packages of emery boards at the dollar store. There's tons of them in there. They're inexpensive and they are the perfect sanding tool for doing doll and miniature stuff. And if you just keep doing this, you'll get a nice rounded end. And I'm not going to cut out any of this sanding because I want you to see it doesn't take very long. It's simple and it's quick. Alright, that's all we need. We just want it rounded. The other end, you could make any shape you want. I'm just blunting off and just kind of making a square-ish end that's round, just a little bit rounded at the corners. And if it starts to split, just sand up the thing. Now, this 3/4 inch mark is going to be important. Now I've preheated my oven to 250 degrees because I'm using Sculpey 3. And I like to bake my Sculpey 3 a little bit lower than the temperature it recommends. I find it, especially since we're baking over and over and over today. We're baking multiple times. So we're going to cut a piece of clay. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to bring it over here. I've rolled this out pretty thin. I used my pasta machine and I rolled it to the number 4 setting. I want to make sure that this end is straight. Oh, and this knife. I got a couple of questions privately about these clay knives. This I don't think is the same one I used last time I did clay, but these long thin blades, they're made by one of the clay manufacturers. I want to say most of the ones I buy are made by the people that make Sculpey. and they're sold right with the polymer clay. This one is a really flexible one. My other ones, some of my others are really stiff. I recommend when you're first starting out, get the stiffer, less expensive ones. I think they work just as well, and you don't need the flexible when you're starting out. Now, we want to cut this so that it will fit. How about there? I'm using my blade. This blade has an optional handle you can put onto it, which I used exactly one time. I got it thinking, oh, that'll be cool. Yeah, I used it once, took it off, and I've never used it again. I don't even know where the handle is now. We're going to bake clay to our wooden stick. So we need to put a little bit, just a really thin coating of either Bacon Bond or translucent liquid Sculpey. Either one will be fine. We're covering approximately that first 3/4 of an inch. And it doesn't have to be perfect right now. We are going to push it down, kind of round it off, round it around. We can trim off any excess. Now this needs to bake. I'm going to take off anything that's sticking past the end. This needs to bake for only about 3 to 5 minutes. We're not setting this clay. We're simply getting it hard enough we can work around it, because this is going to be baked multiple times, but I don't want soft, squishy clay. I want it hardened. So when this is baked, I'll be back. All right, so this is all baked off and it's cooled, and now I'm going to cut. It's hanging over. I'm not sure how well the camera's picking up. It's hanging over the edge there, just a little bit. And I'm just very carefully shaving that off. There. All right, I'm going to bring my clay back over. Now this is where you can have some fun, because these spatulas come in different shapes. We're making it about 3/4 of an inch wide and approximately 1.25 inches long. Within that size range, you can make your spatula a lot of shapes. Some of them are rounded on both corners. Some have a kind of a point on one side. So I think I'm going to cut myself off a piece of clay off the end here that's about the right size. I am going to use my knife. I should have put cornstarch down, but that's okay. And we're only going to work on one side at a time. And yeah, this is a little fiddly. I actually made, oh gosh, I don't know how many of these I made the other day. Just working out my process so it would be easy for you to get this shape on both sides and not be flat on the second side. All right, so let's get this in a, I'm going to move this one with the clay because it's kind of in my way. I'm working on a ceramic tile, which is what I usually work on. Some people bake on their ceramic tiles. I don't like to, because I don't like having the shiny side on my clay, so I very seldom bake on ceramic. Okay, I'm going to do my second side shaped more like this. Bring my plate over that I bake on, bring over my piece I'm working with, and now I've cut some little strips of cardboard. This is off of, this is off of, I think it was a box of crackers. So we need 4 of them because we need it 2 pieces deep. Pick this up. I'm going to lay these out, lining up those straight sides. This also is, yeah, I admit, it's a little fiddly. And I'm going to put the 2 that have glue. Do not put the pieces of glue towards your clay. Put that towards the, away from your clay. Now, plain cardboard, not the printed side, not any glue pieces on this piece that's going to touch your clay. That'll be done along the stick. I want to get a little more depth. I don't want this against the tray. I'm going to start by kind of picking this off. Now, the bottom of that little piece that we put on is where we're going to line this up. And now you can either use your finger or another piece of clay or a stick. I brought out a ball stylus, but I don't see where I put it. Okay, I'll use my finger. Where did I put that? I have no idea. I've got way too many projects going on my table is the problem. All right, let's see, what do I have? I will use the back of this. I just want to kind of push down on the clay there, using my blade, using the blade side of my blade, because this is going to try and stick to my tray. Trying to avoid it stretching that as I pick it up. Come on. Come on. There we go. And we can trim this up a little bit when we get it baked. All right. Line these back up. If I hadn't moved them, they would be much better. And now what this is that's going to provide us with just a raised surface for that clay to lay down against. Don't worry that we stretched that out a little. We're going to trim that up while it's still warm when it first comes out of the oven. So I'm now going to go bake this for, this time, about 7 minutes, 7 to 10. And while it's still warm, I'll be back and we'll trim it up. All right, so this is fresh out of the oven. We're done with these little pieces of cardboard now. Put this off to the side. And I want to straighten this up. These edges got, and you can use your craft knife or your clay knife. And I may use both. I want this side to be pretty straight. There, that's better. And we can get that more straight yet when we get done and we start working with the file. Okay, well, I'm going to be happy with that. So now we need to cover this little part of our handle again on this side. Basically now we need to repeat the other side. So a little spread of our translucent liquid Sculpey or Bacon Bond, either one is fine. We need a little piece of clay that's about 1/4 inch wide, which is approximately what our little skinny sticks are, by about 3/4 of an inch. And this is still a little bit warm, so it's going to stick down a little bit better this time. Oops, try not to drop that. And yeah, they're going to be a little bumpy. That's okay. When you look at your real ones, a lot of times they get a little bumpy after they've been washed many times too. All right. Hopefully I'm still in camera. I get really involved in working and I forget to check that we're still in camera. I apologize for that. I know it happens on videos, and without growing an extra set of eyes, I really don't know a way to avoid that. All right, now that's hard. We are going to bake this again for only about 3 minutes. Get it trimmed back. So I'm going to put this in the oven for 3 minutes, and then I'm going to let it cool before I work with it again. So I'll be back again. All right, so this is baked again and cooled. So now, get this evened up a little more. We've got a few weird edges here. And you can take more time to sand yours down if you want. On the video, I tend to not do that. Now, we need to do one more side. We've got one more baking to do, and then we're done. So, we need to cut a piece of clay bigger than that. All right, and we'll be done with that now. And once again, because we are applying raw clay to our baked clay, so I got stuff along the side. I'm trying to get every last bit out of this bottle of TLS before I open up the new one I bought. Because this stuff is not cheap and I don't want to waste any of it. And usually I just need little tiny bits. There. So just a very, very thin coat. And we're going to put this on here. Get this tile out of my way. And I found my ball stylus. Now you can use a piece of skinny stick. You can use your fingers. You can use whatever you've got to press this down. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of tools. But I've got a lot of tools, so I feel I might as well use them. This was purchased at Michael's, if you're wondering, and I believe they were just called clay tools. I think there was 3 double-ended tools in the package. Now, we've got a pattern to cut by. The pattern being the first side we did. So we're going to cut right along there. We'll cut this excess clay off before we bake. We're going to try and be neat about this. As each step goes, we need to be neater and neater. I don't want that little piece that flopped. Get that even there. Get that worked out there. Get this cut off. Now I cut up against my thumb with this. This blade is sharp, but I'm putting very little pressure on, so it's not going to cut into my thumb. If you put a lot of pressure on, you will cut yourself because these blades are very, very thin and very sharp. If they're not sharp, you'll need to replace them. That's kind of the idea. All right, now I'm going to use that clay tool, and I'm going to just kind of blend these edges together so that it doesn't look like there's 2 pieces of clay. Now, this is a little thicker than a real one would be in scale, but that makes it a lot stronger. And you could even go thicker if you want to. I really wouldn't go any thinner because the clay really needs to have some bulk to be structurally sound. Now, that little bit is bothering me there. This is where we kind of fuss with it. And pardon the sniffling. I just got done having another sneezing fit, and I can't breathe. So you're getting me sniffles and all right now. So I'm going around that because I really like that shape, and I want to emphasize that. All right. Now I'm actually going to put this raw clay up so that the bottom supports it. I'm going to now bake this for about 10 minutes. I want to completely cure this piece now. So I'm going to let it bake for 10 minutes, then I'm going to let it cool completely, and then I'll be back and we'll talk about the finished product. All right, so here we are. We have our rubber spatula for our dolls, and we can sand them down with an emery board. It'll take some time, and I'm not going to do all of that right now, but you get the idea. And now My dolls actually have 3 of them after I got done with all this. So I can put them in a container on the counter in their kitchen and they can do some baking. So I hope you enjoyed this project. Be sure and check the blog post. I'll have a few more details and I'll give you the sizes and things there so you don't have to, take notes on the video. And I can always post better pictures there too. So I will talk to you later. Bye.